Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy 5-star Saturday. The number one linebacker in the country is now an Ohio State Buckeye. Riley Pettijohn is in the fold, a guy that we projected yesterday to join the Buckeyes. James Laurinaitis is on the warpath, killing the game. Congratulations, James. The best guy on their board, the number one guy in the nation on their board inside the Woody Hayes was Riley Pettijohn. They snagged him today. Fantastic player, a lot of athleticism. We're going to break his film down again today, kind of go through what this means. Is David Sanders Jr. next? I think with the way the dominoes are falling, we've got a huge offer on the table for him. Loves Paris Johnson. The families are really tight between Paris's family, his family. Ohio State is it's down to us in Tennessee, and I really, really, really like where Ohio State is based on what I heard today. Again, I appreciate all of the intel that is coming our way from the Woody Hayes, so thank you guys. With that being said, as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, if you guys want to do us a huge favor, comment on these videos after they're done. Be active in the chat on YouTube. The best way to watch this is on YouTube, but if you guys are into the audio formats, even if you guys like being on YouTube, if you just subscribe to this on Apple Podcasts, that is huge for us, along with Spotify and any other format that you guys watch your podcast or listen to your podcasts on. That's huge for growing this channel. It's absolutely free to do, and it's a big support to us. So if you guys could just click on subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Those are things that take about 5 seconds to do. Really, really nice thing for you guys to do for us, and we appreciate you guys as we're growing this channel. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out, who you guys are watching with, and as always, give me a grade on James Laurinaitis. I'm really excited about him. I think he's got no ceiling. He could potentially be the next head coach at Ohio State one day. He's that good, and he's getting his feet under him, his sea legs in terms of recruiting, and I think he's going to be a better Brian Hartline, just being honest, in terms of that defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to be an ace. He's going to be a Mariano Rivera, and I think that he's going to do incredible work while he's at Ohio State as he ascends up the coaching ladder. Hopefully he never leaves, and he just keeps scaling the mountain as an Ohio State football coach. That being said, I'm going to bring in our resident 5-star Nevada. Riley Pettijohn is in the fold. Your excitement level, the fan base's excitement level. Again, I know that we had a little bit of a, couple speed bumps on some that maybe we weren't expected, but we get a kid that I think is as good as any player in the country, especially at linebacker, speed demon. 10.77 guy, which for a guy that weighs 225, that's flying. 10.7 in the 100 is really fast for a linebacker. But your thoughts on Riley Pettijohn out of McKinney, Texas?
Yeah, I mean, this is just, a terrific get by the entire defensive staff, headed up by James Laurinaitis. What a defensive haul. I mean, when you go through the class, you look at all the defensive players they're bringing in, I mean, it's crazy. And as you said, this is a guy that Ohio State wanted badly, number one guy. And, you lose out on a Justin Hill, and you get a Riley Pettijohn. And that's what I always say. Hey, when you're following recruiting, just take a step back, take a deep breath, look at the big picture in recruiting, because if you're not getting anybody, then when you miss guys, man, that is time to panic. But when you've got a loaded class, yeah, if you miss on a guy or two, it's not time to draw big conclusions that Laurinaitis can't recruit. The border's not up in the state of Ohio. We've lost all of our momentum. I mean, any of the dumb takes that have been offered over the last 24, 48 hours. But Pettijohn was a guy that we felt good about all along. It's been such an interesting ride following this from Ohio State's perspective, because this is a guy that we've been super confident on, and I think we were more confident on getting him than Ohio State was. So we're like, hey, yeah, you guys are getting you're getting Ryan Pettijohn. They're like, really? Yeah. So as a fan, don't ever feel like you're out in the dark or behind in terms of information, because sometimes you have better information than even Ohio State has on these recruits. And in Pettijohn's case, that was certainly the case. And as you said, this is a guy that can fly, run sideline to sideline, classic linebacker for Ohio State's look, and will be a great pairing with Alford, and just a cherry on the top of the defensive class. I'm not sure if we're going to be going after any more defensive players. We might, but I really don't think so. I think at this point in time, you're probably looking at Mills Knight, the running back, obviously David Sanders, And maybe I think an open question and one that we should discuss is, does Ohio State go back in on a wide receiver? Now that DeCorian Moore apparently is going to Oregon after that classic commitment video that he put on that'll probably be nominated for like 5 Oscars or so. It's like The Godfather, Dances with Wolves, The Sting, and DeCorian Moore's commitment video. Find cinematic masterpieces. But now that money's kind of available, do you circle back on a Vernell Brown or a Jamie French or somebody else? Because there's a lot of good wide receivers that are still on the board, and Ohio State now has NIL money to spend. But yeah, not going to take away anything from a day. It's not every day that you land a 5-star linebacker. It's not every day you land a 5-star linebacker out of Texas. And taking Devin Sanchez and Riley Pettijohn out of Texas, man, Ohio State is doing business in the Lone Star State, and business is certainly good.
Nevada, does he count since he's not from Ohio? Because we have a vocal, very tiny, microscopic section of the fan base. It's like we lost a kid. We lost, 2 kids from one doesn't even live in Ohio anymore. We lost a couple kids that went to different places from the state of Ohio. And I'm just like, give me the best players. I don't care where they're from. They can be from Mars. If this kid was from Pluto, I'm taking him, and he's better than any linebacker in the state of Ohio this year, in my opinion. And TJ Alford's the same way. And TJ Alford, you get those 2 guys together, that's 2 guys that can fly. And in the modern spread era, we talk all the time about the spread offense, but what about the spread defense? Because that's basically what you play now. You play the spread defense because you play nickel the entire game. This guy is perfection for what you're trying to get out of your new age linebackers, where you need incredible athleticism to cover the field. Like, this is like football in the last 20 years, it's not even the same game. So now this is the kind of guy you need. I love his film. I love watching his film. I think we've watched it 10 times, but the instincts, the speed, the physicality, I mean, this guy's a total package. James Laurinaitis loves this guy, which is all I need to know. This is the number 1 guy on his board, which is all I need to know. Because a guy like James has forgotten more about linebackers than I'll ever know. And again, I study film incessantly. I love watching football film. Anytime I'm working or doing whatever, I throw on some clinic tape and watch it and just learn some more ball. And James is a savant when it comes to teaching linebacker, playing linebacker. Again, he's a guy that never should have left Ohio State. He never should have had to go to Notre Dame, but he's here now. He's doing great work, and I think that he's going to be a monstrous recruiting asset going forward for Ryan Day and the staff. He's a guy that can sit in any living room with anybody. His credential, he's the all-time leading tackler for the Los Angeles Rams, 3-time All-American. He walks. The thing that's different with James and those guys, like when he walks down that hallway in the Woody Hayes, like he has major trophies with his name on them. Like none of those other guys have that. I mean, Tim Walton doesn't. Brett Harlan. It's not a slight on those guys, but that's just how good James was. James was the only All-American in the building on staff. So I mean, it's different because he's a different cat, and he's always been incredible at what he's set his mind to. And again, we're seeing the fruits of Ryan Day. I don't want to say you're taking a chance on a guy who's never coached before, because when you get a guy like James, like it doesn't take him long to be exceptional. And you look at some of the guys that are the same age as him, like Gerard Mayo is the head coach of the Patriots, so you're asking James just to coach the linebacker. So it's not like he can't do that, lickety split, as fast as anybody. So I'm really excited about this. Again, this is a huge get. Again, beating A&M, beating Texas. I mean, SC was a weird one to me because it just never made sense why a kid would leave Texas to go to Southern Cal, who had the most horrific defense. Because you got to remember, his dad was an All-American D lineman at Syracuse, so you're not going to snow him over. Like, he's a guy that he understands football. He knows what great looks like. He's a former All-American. Obviously, he played at a very high level. I'm not sure how old he is. I'd imagine he's might have played for Paul Pasqualoni. He was a really, really good coach up at Syracuse, a really good defensive guy. So, he's going to be, a different type of parent. Again, there's a lot of different evaluations you have to do as a player now, or excuse me, as a coach now, where you got to figure out what motivates the kid, and then is the kid the true decision maker, or is it the parents? And I think this was a joint effort. He's got real parents, which is great, really good parents. Again, and that's not, I'm not slighting, but every situation is different, and some Not all parents are created equal, but he's got some good ones. So that helps, I think, with the decision. And this is a kid that'll be a captain of his team this year. He's got kind of the archetype to be a captain eventually at Ohio State. So I think this is going to be a monster. This is a monster get for us. Nevada, do we move on to the next behemoth, who's the guy who's on the tip of everybody's tongue, David Sanders Jr. I'm getting daily updates on David Sanders Jr. that are very, very positive for Ohio State. What are you hearing on David Sanders Jr.?
Well, I'm going to finish with Riley Pettijohn first because I think it'll dovetail into David Sanders. But you know, people were talking about USC with him, and we were talking to the people at the USC collective. They did not think they were getting Riley Pettijohn, so I didn't know where he was going, but I was fairly certain it was not going to be USC. And yeah, no, I'm excited about this one. This is a really good one. I mean, David Sanders, I'd say of all the guys that we've been following through this thing here, kind of down the stretch, Brew, McNutt, Hill, Pettijohn, etc. The guy that Ohio State's been the most confident on and has never wavered on that confidence is David Sanders. That's so from my standpoint, it's hard to find another team that's going to get him that can kind of do the things for him that Ohio State can. And, I'm not saying Ohio State is the furthest thing from a perfect barometer when it comes to this kids, but this one they've never flip flopped on. This has never been we think we're getting them, we don't think we're getting them. They think they're getting them. They thought that early on in the recruiting cycle. They thought that when he was here on his visit, and they thought that every day since he's been gone. So all I can say is my confidence comes from Ohio State's unwavering confidence and belief in the fact that they're getting him and that he'll be kind of the cornerstone of this class, kind of the final building block on this already, absolutely fantastic class. I mean, this class, I mean, it filled every single need, but obviously, a franchise left tackle is a guy that you can never have enough of those. And it's for Ohio State to have Carter Lowe in the fold already. Makes this an acceptable class from an offensive line standpoint. Getting to David Sanders takes it to exceptional, and I really believe that that's the next big domino to fall, and I think it's going to fall Ohio State's way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, and it's funny, they do these little RPN predictions, and they've got him projected in Tennessee. But you look at yesterday, they said the prediction machine for Riley Pettijohn is 60% to Texas, which is like 1% to SC, and then 34% to Ohio State. So sometimes the prediction things aren't really great, especially when they change them literally an hour before the commitment when they get Hayes Fawcett's had it done. But yeah, David Sanders is a guy that I caution because I know that everybody is. There's always that one recruit every year that like everyone just becomes obsessed with, and this is the one this year. David Sanders. It's like people. I think obviously they want the tackles restocked. They want the O-line restocked. Again, his favorite player and like I don't want to say the guy that he models his game after is Paris. And Paris is a guy that. I'm tossing his film on real quick. Excuse me. Paris is a guy that he's done what he wants to do, and I've said it. And if I had a guy that was kind of a similar body type to me, similar athleticism, similar talent coming out of high school, and he went 3 and out, and he said, "Hey, I'll give you the blueprint. I'll tell you everything you need to do. You got the same coach, got the same strength coach, got Ryan Day, got this something that I don't think people talk about enough is that we talk all the time about Ryan Day's throw game." And how, these guys learn NFL route trees, at Ohio State. And it's not like that in every throwing system. So, but these guys also run a pro style pass protection scheme as well. So these guys learn, you got to pass block in the NFL. Like the National Football League, if you said, Kirk, you have 100 attribute points, like imagine you're playing Madden or create a character or whatever video game, NCAA Football 25, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited about. Like if I had 100 points to build, the Kirk creative character to be the most successful NFL player that I could possibly be, I would put all 100 points in pass blocking. I wouldn't put a single point into run blocking because nobody cares about run blocking. If you can pass protect in the National Football League, you will make $100 million playing tackle. I'm just telling you, that's the difference. You look in that league, A lot of these teams are 60%, 70% throw game now. DeJuan Jones, pass blocking machine. Paris, pass blocking machine. Um, and the pass rushes have never been better. The pass rushes are incredible in the National Football League right now. Their technical ability has never been better. And they also know that they've got a lot more opportunities now because the game is so it's so aerial uh, oriented. There's so much more throwing than there was 15, 20 years ago. And that's great. I mean, if you're a pass rusher and you want to get sack opportunities, like when they're throwing all the time, God is what it is. So David Sanders Jr. can pass protect in spades. He's got great athleticism. He's got great speed. You watch him here, and again, it's tough because he's not going against great players in here, but he's got the ability to really move well. Like I said, he's so light. He's so light on his feet. I mean, he's a guy. He looks just like Paris bouncing around out there. He's got really. This is going to sound goofy, but he's got really rare flexibility, ankle flexibility, which again that helps with redirection and pass protection. So it's not that he needs to be a ballerina, but when you watch him move, redirect right there, that's a beautiful play. Just little things you look at because again, like when you're evaluating tackles in high school, a lot of times they're not playing against guys that are Big Ten caliber, SEC caliber, even MAC caliber guys, but you have to evaluate their movement skills and their biomechanical, and that's the thing that's really important to do. And you watch him; it takes about 2 clips, and you're like, yeah, this guy's if he's not the best tackle in the country, I don't know who'd be better than him. He's better than any of the tackles that have come out the last couple of years, in my opinion. He's better than Jordan Seaton. He's better than Okunloa, like the guys that we've been in on a little bit in the last few years. So I like him. I like his makeup better too. Like I felt like Jordan Seaton was kind of a clown, and then he ends up, of course, with Dion at Colorado, which is perfect. What I mean? He's going to be the left tackle as a true freshman this year. So have fun with that, dude, out there at that albatross. But yeah, I love this kid's film. I think that we've got a very competitive offer on the table. The Paris Johnson thing couldn't have gone any better during the official. Paris wasn't there. Paris was at Fashion Week in Europe in Paris. But the crew was there. They had everything laid out for him. They have the plan of attack to be a 3-and-out guy, which again you don't always want to say that out loud because a lot of these kids, they're obsessed with being 3-and-out, aka playing for 3 years, leaving after their true junior year and going to the National Football League. But this is the kind of kid that could do it. And Paris did it, and a lot of these kids they want to jump, but with NIL now, man, you don't really have to jump. You can get a little bit of lunch money and still stick around for your senior year, which I think is better for linemen and quarterbacks personally. Skill guys, especially running backs, I see them taking off after 3, but tackles, it never hurts to stay for next year. It didn't hurt Joe Thomas. It didn't hurt Jake Long, but that's just my opinion. Nevada, any other thoughts on David Sanders? And we can dig into some questions.
No, I think it's a great point, and one that it hasn't really been made. You talk about the throwing system for Ohio State and how much that benefits the quarterbacks, obviously the wide receivers, but for the NFL to be an effective pass blocking tackle, because not every school throws the ball like Ohio State does, and if you're going down and you're trying to learn a particular skill set, and they're trying to look for a high draft points from a tackle. It's one thing if you're a run first guy, but a guy that knows how to pass block. I mean, that's everything that you said in the NFL, and I think for Sanders that just kind of completes the whole package for him, and it's just another reason why Ohio State's such a logical choice, and frankly, why Ohio State's been cranking guys into the NFL. I mean, we have never put so many linemen in the NFL as we have recently. I mean, we've got guys on top of guys. I mean, there were times when we didn't have a single guy like starting the NFL on the offensive line. Now it's like everywhere you look, teams are littered with Ohio State players, and it's kind of crazy that like, what would you say that we have like 4 starting tackles in the league this year or something like that. I mean, it's a crazy statistic and really a tribute to how well Ohio State's done from a recruiting standpoint, how well from a development standpoint, strength and conditioning standpoint, and from a style of play standpoint. So David Sanders has got to look at that and go, man, this just this fits me to a T. It fits his academic profile. It fits what his parents want for him, and it's it's great to have a guy like this at the end of the class, kind of like a JT Malone, when you've already got the good, not the good class, the great class already kind of put in the barn. But this would be the cherry on the top, and I really really believe that's going to happen. Um, I don't know when. I don't know. With Sanders, I'm not sure exactly on the timing on that. But I get the sense from talking to people close to him that he wants to get it done sooner than later. He's seen what he needs to see, and I think the only thing left is an Ohio State commitment.
Yeah, I think that let me do a little quick class review. We've got yeah, you take a look at where we're at. So we're number one in the country, number one in the Big Ten by a country mile, first nationally. Um, Excuse me, we go to this dumb advertisement. Thanks on three, trash. Um, but you look at the top. We've got big time corners: Devin Sanchez, Naheem Alford. We've got Tavion up there. We got Riley Pettijohn. This is as loaded of a class as you could ever get, in my opinion. I mean, even if we don't get David Sanders, it's still going to be the number one class. I mean, if he goes to Tennessee, like that's not going to affect us. You get David Sanders, this may be the best class in Ohio State history. I mean, obviously the O2 class is always going to have something to say about it. It depends on how some of these guys develop it. Like Zion Grady is, I think, criminally underranked at this point. Nate Roberts is an exceptional tight end. Des Jones is a super freak athlete. And again, it's just funny because they got him rated as the 35th best receiver. But there's years I think he'd be a top 10 guy just because he's so explosive. Trajan Odom he's lived all over the place, but he's a big time defensive lineman. Cody Haddad, some of these guys that are these Ohio kids. Again, I think Ohio kids are just normally underranked just because they don't get the exposure that the kids in the South get. But Brody Len, Isaiah West, Jake Cook, I mean Bogdan Miller, a lot of really really good developmental guys in this class, along with the top flight guys. Devin and Naheem obviously being two 5-star corners, the two top corners in the entire country, leading the way with the guy that's likely to be the top quarterback, Tavion St. Clair. So it's a scary good class at this point. Right, some places have Riley Pettijohn as number one at linebacker. I think he's the best linebacker in the country. Some have him as number two. Carter's a top 3 or 4 tackle in my opinion. So yeah, this is going to be Fahim Deline top 3 safety. I think he's the best safety in the country. So Quincy Porter is a guy who's underrated. I mean, we've got a lot of big time talent. I mean, getting TJ. Go ahead, Nevada. You're gonna say something.
No, I couldn't agree more on Quincy Porter. I think Quincy Porter's. I mean, I think he's criminally underrated. I think he's as good. He's a top tier guy on anybody's list. And yeah, I had him up there with the Vernell Browns, with the Decorian Moores, with the Jimmy. I mean, he's a big timer. And but this whole class is made up of big timers. There's a few developmental guys, but as you always have to take. But even those guys have got big time potential. So this class has got an opportunity to be epic and one of the all timers for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna toss some Quincy Porter on, and we will do a few super chats. Appreciate you guys being on here on your Saturdays. I hope you guys had a good day. It was gorgeous in Central Ohio today. Nice hot day. Good European soccer. I love the Euros. I mean, it's unbelievable sports. If you guys aren't into soccer, it's a really fun sport to get into, especially in the off season. Here's some Quincy Porter, and we will dig into some super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. Robert Floyd Bryant, thank you for the 10. Thank you for being ultra member as well. Please use your platform to combat the drug epidemic. A relative of mine was a fentanyl addict, but was saved. You could create a program with the backing of many influential people and save thousands. I'll do anything I can to help. I mean, I think it's a huge epidemic throughout the nation right now, especially with the border being open. There's a lot of phony drugs coming in, and again, I think it's terrifying, especially with kids. But I'll do anything I can to help out locally. I don't know. I don't think I could create a program. I don't really have the time to do it, but I could do anything to help out programs that are already created. Because I think that it's a very worthy cause, and I think that it's killing our kids right now. It's a big time deal, and a lot of the stuff is laced with some nasty stuff. So I've known friends that have been in rehab, addicts, all types of stuff, and a lot of them are ultra successful people. I mean, they make serious money, and it affects anybody, any class. So anybody that needs help, get it. I'm telling you, it's something you'll never regret. Nevada, any thoughts? Robert Floyd, Bryant, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for being an ultra member. Please use your platform to combat the drug epidemic. A relative of mine was a fentanyl addict but was saved. You could create a program with the backing of many influential people and save thousands. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean anything we can do. I mean fentanyl. It's been kind of interesting because fentanyl's so insidious and so dangerous. I actually think it's probably scared a lot of people straight because you're afraid to do anything because you don't want to have it laced with the fentanyl, as you said, because you end up not this little recreational thing turns out with you being dead. And so it's scary, scary drug. Scary that it's coming in. Anything we can do to promote awareness or support any of those programs, man, we're here for that because I fear for my kids for sure because they're in college, and when you're in college you're having fun and you're doing whatever, but there's nothing fun about that. It's not harmless when you can end up dead, and that's definitely a scary proposition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Appreciate that note. Luke Nicely, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. A big boom today. Totally agree. I think the class finishes with Mills, Knight, Bowman, Sanders, an interior lineman, and a DB. Thoughts, Nevada OH? Now, that'd be the best class in history if we land that. And again, it's so early. There's always some guys that pop that have. There's always these guys that Ohio State is monitoring that are committed to maybe lower ranked schools that might come on during their senior year and put out better film, or look better, or there might be a coaching change at some position. There's a lot of fluid things that happen during the season, which is why I get excited about these kids, but I also think that we're going to add as the season goes on and Ohio State rolls through the season. The offense is fantastic. The new Chip Kelly scheme is going to be ridiculous. I think kids are going to be excited to see that. They're going to be excited to play for that. And I think that the flip could happen too. I think that, when you lose a kid to Alabama, and, that defense has to show that they're still Alabama. I mean, they got a new coaching staff, and I think Caleb DeBoer is a fantastic coach, but, they got to go prove that they're Alabama. And I mean, he played in, the Pac-12, which is great, but that ain't the SEC now. I mean, come on. I mean, he's got to go play. He's got to go play with the big dogs now, and we'll see. And the last time I saw that defense, man, it was pulverized by the Michigan Wolverines. So we'll see. I mean, again, I think that sometimes kids get excited and they think that I'm committing to something, and then once these games start playing, if they're not up to snuff or they get shredded a few times, I think kids get a little wary. I think kids back off. Coaches get fired. Coaches move on to different greener pastures. There's a million things that happen in college football. So I keep recruiting every kid that we've lost so far. That if we really want to be in on them, and just roll and be fine with it. Again, I think that if this class was done today, I think it would be an absolutely fantastic class. This would be one of the best classes we've ever gotten. We have a 5-star tackle. We have a 5-star quarterback. We have 2 5-star cornerbacks. I mean, we have 5-star players at across the board. We have a deep D line group of really talented guys. We have 5 D linemen committed. So it's like when we lost that edge kid the other day, Justin Hill, I was like, we already have 5 guys committed. So I don't know how many you think we can take. It was kind of like when we lose a running back and they're talking about a 3 running back class. I'm like, that's never going to work. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, because one of them is going to transfer after 1 year, period, point blank. If one gets to play and then the other 2 are on scout team, and one of them is going to transfer. So taking 3 is kind of stupid, but just my opinion. Nevada, your thoughts. Luke, again, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for the 5. Big boom today, and again, it was a huge boom. I totally agree. I think the class finishes with Mills, Knight, Bowman, Sanders, an interior lineman, and a DB. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah. We have one of our rare areas of disagreement. I think 3 running backs is going to be the new normal. I don't think it's that crazy, but I understand why you have a different opinion on that. As for the class, we have to remember it's still 5 months before signing day. So, it's funny talking about wrapping this thing up and putting a bow on it, getting the final commitment, but we still have the entire senior year for most of these kids to play college football and, or excuse me, high school football. And there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to come. There's going to be new names that are going to come onto the thing, decommitments. So yeah, I think there's going to be some twists and turns as we kind of get down here, but because it's only July, and so it's yeah, there's still a lot of the of this play to kind of be played out. But I think for Ohio State, they'd like to have it done, but it's never done. It's kind of a never-ending process of evaluation, seeing who's available, seeing who might be available, who could be had, and then kind of scoring up with their salary cap with the NIL money to see what they've got left to spend. So yeah, I think when it's all said and done, now somebody on our board today, and I wanted to address this. They said, "Well, we were you made us believe that we'll never miss on another recruit again," and I want to address that. We will miss on another recruit again at some point. So if we've ever led you to the, or if I've ever, I don't think Kirk's done it, but if I've ever led you to believe that we'll never miss on another recruit again, then we need to address that because yes, we will miss on some recruits at some point. Um, we haven't missed on a lot. We've had a very good to great to historic recruiting class here in 2024. But yes, at some point we will miss on some recruits. So if that's your expectation that Ohio State will never miss on another recruit, got to check yourself because that's probably not realistic. And that's my public service announcement for Saturday.
What in the world would make somebody say that? Was there
I
something that
don't
like
know.
someone wrote like
I don't.
that? I know I
No,
didn't
no,
write that because
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no. But they're blaming me for raising their expectations because they're claiming that I'm saying we'll never miss on another recruit again. It's like, guys, why would you ever think that? But I felt compelled to address it. Yes, we will miss on some recruits at some point in time. So if you think that that's not realistic, so now they can say that I did not say that we'll never miss on another recruit again.
is that like in the category of you saying that Ohio State's going to be good, and people get upset when they
Yeah,
lose a game? You know, it's like
yeah. You said
it,
they were.
it,
You lied, Nevada. You said they were going to be good.
like
Nevada. You said we're never going to miss on another recruit ever again in the history of
I
Ohio
mean,
State football. And it's like, guys, how are you drawing that conclusion from this podcast or from anything,
that's
or do you listen to anything that I say? But it's like, no. I mean, some people are there, so I feel like I have to address it. Yes, we will lose a game at some point in time. We will lose a recruit at some point in time. But things are very, very good. We're not going to lose a lot of games. We're not going to lose a lot of recruits. Things are very, very good. But no, we will. While we're not seeking perfection, only improvement, because we'll never be perfect. And but yes, now it's been said. Mark that down. Can you put a little bookmark on that here
oh
in the
god.
podcast? It's someone.
I,
Yes,
I,
Nevada
I'm just
said.
telling you. Yeah, it's like when people say you guys pick Ohio State. Well, I'm like, well, we're favored in every game we play, except maybe once every 2 years. So it's like you always pick Ohio State to win. I'm like, last 25 years we're the highest winning percentage in the entire country. I mean, outside of if Alabama didn't exist, we'd be the clear cut number one program by far the last 25 years. But even still, like I mean, over like the first from 2000 to '07. I mean, Saban wasn't there, so they weren't worth anything in Alabama. So for those 7 years, we were really, really good. We were going to national championship games. We won a national championship during that stretch. So people were like, "You guys are such homers," because I was like, "We've had the most successful recession-proof run in maybe all of sports with Ohio State football over the last 25 years." So I mean, and we've won two natties, and I know that everybody thinks we should have 25 natties, but this was really hard to win. But we've been really outside of that 2011 year that was an albatross. Like we're really good, really competitive. Owned Michigan for a long time. So yeah, like I mean, and we were favored to beat them the last 3 years. I mean, we lost to them, but we were still favored to beat them. So again, I don't know. There's some people that are just like, stay strong. I know it's very tough being an Ohio State fan when we have the number one recruiting class and people still complain. We win 94 or 5% of our games. People still complain. And again, I don't care, but I mean, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, guys, like, I'm loving it because I love how good the program is. I love the trajectory of it. We're going to have a top 2 roster in the entire country. I mean, even on the video game, we're the number 2 team on the video game. So you guys all are excited about the video game coming out. The only team that's ahead of us is Georgia. So I mean, and our offense is criminally underrated. They give an 89 overall on offense. I'm like, we have 2 first-round running backs and J.J. Smith and Emeka Egbuka. We have an 89 overall offense. Like, in what universe? And then Georgia's like a 95 offense. I'm like, I'm not trading their skill guys. I trade for their quarterback, but I'm not trading the skill guys. There's no chance in the universe. So again, stay strong. All of the poly pessimists, the Peter pessimists that just love to be angry and I told you we were gonna lose the game. I'm like, that's fine. We've got a really good team this year, and I'm over the moon excited about it. Sean Schrock, thank you for the 10, and thank you for the Ultra member. It was great seeing you at the Scoop meetup on Saturday. Appreciate you, my friend. Hey, Kirk, do you know if James Laurinaitis ever considered going into pro wrestling after he retired from the NFL? Since his dad and his uncle were pro wrestlers, I know that they recruited the crap out of him to do it, but James obviously made a ton of money in the National Football League. Multi-millionaire, huge second deal with the Rams, and the pro wrestling lifestyle is like the hardest thing in the entire. It's one of the hardest things in the entire world. I mean, they're on the road 300 days a year. So when you only got 365 and you're on the road for 300 of them, and there's no that's the thing that kills me about wrestling. There is no off season. So you don't get the football guys, they get 4 months off after the season. When you're in the National Football League, they get a month off right now in July before training camp. So it's a different kind of change of pace. And frankly, I just think that it's impossibly hard on your body. I mean, those guys, it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still pretty bad. I mean, those guys, people can say wrestling is fake, but to me, wrestling, it can be fake, but it's the same profession to me essentially as being like a stunt double, like a movie stunt double, and every now and again you hear about a stunt double that dies, because they got to jump out of a helicopter, or they got to go run across some flaming pit or whatever, and they fall into it. So it's like, that's what except you're being a stunt double for 300 days a year, because you're getting hit with falling off ladders and chairs and moonsaults and power bombs. And yeah, people can say that's fake, but I mean, when you see how messed up those guys get, it ain't fake. I mean, Bret Hart still can't walk because of what Goldberg did to him, where he screwed up and kicked them or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's a brutal lifestyle. I don't think James ever was serious about it. I'm sure that they wanted it. Like Gable Stevenson was getting. I mean, he was one of the greatest heavyweight wrestlers of all time in college wrestling, and he just got cut from the WWE because for whatever reason he couldn't cut it. But I don't think he ever considered it, because it's a horrific profession to be in. And honestly, James got a great wife. He's got a great, a couple daughters. Wife's pregnant with a boy. I mean, he's got a great young family. So I don't think he'd ever considered it, even though, and plus, when your dad did it, and I'm sure it took a big toll on him physically. Like, I'm sure that he probably didn't want to follow in those footsteps, because his dad was an awesome dude. But again, that's a brutal lifestyle. Nevada, Sean Schrock, again, thank you for an awesome. Thank you for the 10, and thank you for coming to the meetup last Saturday. Hey, Kirk, do you know if James Laurinaitis ever considered going into pro wrestling after he retired from the NFL, since his dad and uncle were pro wrestlers? Nevada, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I don't think he wanted to follow. I think he stated that too. It'd be hard to follow, the Legion of Doom, and and again, he also saw firsthand kind of the impact it had on his dad. So I think he stayed away from that. But now, didn't you consider going into professional, or were they trying to recruit you to go into professional wrestling at some point? Yeah, that's what I thought.
No, I was on the promo for Tough Enough. I mean, they wanted me. I mean, I was
Tough
in.
Enough. Yeah,
I was in it. I was like, I can't do it. I mean, I was on WWF Raw. They did the promo. I mean, I don't know if I can find it. It was probably 10 years ago, maybe. I mean, it was 10, 11 years ago. But I mean, I was in. Like, I was gonna do the show, and I was like, even if I want it, I was like, I just don't want to do it, and I don't want to be like the guy who tried to do professional wrestling, because it's just like, I loved wrestling as a little kid, but the more you talk to people that are in it, I always talk to James about it all the time. The lifestyle just sucks. Like, I'm a homebody. I love being home. I love to work, and do a lot of stuff around the house. I don't like to travel. So, I mean, obviously that's like oil and water when you talk about pro wrestling, but no, I was down on it. I mean, they love recruiting. They've got an NIL program where they recruit a lot of, like collegiate gymnasts. They're always looking for female divas and female wrestlers. They're always looking for former wrestlers. Who was I want to say that the one kid that we got from Jersey who was I think Kevin Fetter, the kid, he was from Jersey. He was an offensive tackle transfer kids. I think he tried out for the WWE. I think he was on one of the reality shows or some YouTube channel for the WWE. Because they like the big, strong lineman dudes. So I mean, there's always opportunity, and it just depends on really like if you make it in the National Football League or not. Because if you're going to the National Football League, you're not going to give WWE a second sniff. But if you don't, and you want to continue to do something athletic and be a quote pro athlete and get paid to do it, I mean, you got a shot. But it's just a brutal lifestyle. Because I mean, it's kind of like baseball where you're in the minors for a long time. You're at NXT or these little house shows and whatever, and you got to work your way up. And I just don't think it's worth it, because if the thing I tell people, I'm like, look, if I'm not getting paid a lot of money, I'm not gonna ruin my body. I'm not gonna ruin my head. Concussions. I'm not gonna tear my. Again, it's a brutal lifestyle, and that's what people like. I see guys that play football when they're done in these rec leagues in the park where they're in helmets and pads, and I'm like, you guys are out of your mind. I'm not doing anything violent to my body unless I'm getting compensated, because I did it at Ohio State. I did it in the National Football League, where you've got great insurance, you've got great doctors, but you're down at the low levels of wrestling, man. You're kind of on your own. And I think it's absolutely insane.
Well, I think we got to come up for the persona for you. Would you have done like the gold dust thing or something like that? Or
dude,
would you gone a different direction?
I just copied the Kevin Nash thing. It's easy.
The
bad guy, the heel. I'm already the heel, so that's easy. That's I wouldn't even need a persona. Scoop man.
I could see you be like the Virgil, like the bodyguard or something like that. I could see you doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god, the Undertaker. I could be like Kamala. Yeah. I used to love wrestling, man. I'm telling you, you could be Paul Bear. You can walk out there and yell and carry a little.
Well, no. Kamala had the guy that wore the mask, Friday or whatever the guy was. Yes. That was his manager. Yes. I could be that, and you be Kamala, and we'd paint the little things on your belly, and you pat your belly and stuff like that.
Dude, Kamala, awesome. I'd be the Ugandan giant. Yeah, there were some. It was amazing, man. Like Kamala. He is in bad shape, man. I think he's diabetic, no legs, now. And they did a WWE or an ESPN thing on him where it was Vince McMahon was the most brutal businessman ever. He didn't pay the guy, and he paid Hulk Hogan all of his money, but Kamala was in the main event for, I don't know if it was Survivor Series or WrestleMania against Hogan, and he literally didn't get paid, or he got paid $100 or something crazy. It was, like I said, again, and then you're at the mercy of working for Vince McMahon. So I mean, you tell me, man. It's not exactly the most enticing career opportunity in the world. Pooh Bear 12, thank you for the deuce. Thank you for being an Ultra member as well. Great updates on David Sanders. What about Davis? I'm guessing that means Davis. Is there another Davis, or you mean Davis Sanders?
He's talking Davis Sanders.
I mean, Davis Sanders, his alter ego, I think is doing well. I don't know. I mean, I think that was that was a sign. I don't think it bugged David. From the people I talked to, he kind of got a weird kick out of it. It wasn't a how dare you disrespect me type thing. But I don't know. I think that the kid's got a lot of upside. And Nevada, how important is it for Justin Fry to land David Sanders? Because this is one that, we used to get 5 stars all the time in the Greg Sudar reign of terror, when he would sit on his lazy boy and eat Doritos and dip the Doritos in ranch and sit there and sleep through the meetings and not have anybody's phone number. Like that was the perception that was put out. But we landed more 5 stars during his reign than I think we might ever land on the offensive line, in the history of Ohio State, because he was uncanny. And again, I don't know if that was Urban. I don't know if that was Pantone. I don't know if that was, the secretary. I don't know what it was, but we landed a lot of 5 stars during that reign, that specific reign. What are your thoughts on that? How important is it to get David Sanders Jr. for Justin Fry?
I think it's, extremely important. I think it's, for him personally, I think it's the entire enchilada. And we've kind of seen that in the past where, Brian Hartline's kind of taking his step up. Tim Walton's kind of taking his step up. I think this is kind of the Waterloo moment for Justin Fry. He's got all the chips in the table. He's pushing all in on David Sanders, and yeah. So I don't want to overstate. I don't think it's not make or break for the class because the class is already historically good, but I think it is make or break for Justin. He's got to get this one done, but I really believe he will.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's gonna be good. Oh, here we go, Nevada. This is a good one. We haven't had an expansion show in a minute. We need to do one of those. Russ Stoller, thank you for the 5. Love the show. Is there any updates on Florida State joining the Big Ten? Nevada, I live in a split household where Kim went to Florida State, so this is always interesting to me. Have you heard anything recently?
I mean, it's supposed to. I mean, it's imminent, and I think they're going to announce that they're leaving. The Oracle had a really good update on our site about this. Um, the expectation is that they'll announce prior to the football season that they are leaving the ACC, and that it could happen sooner. So I really believe that this could happen. I think it's days to weeks as opposed to weeks to months. But we're fully expecting an announcement coming at any moment from Florida State to leave the ACC, and then following that will be an announcement from that Florida State will be joining the Big Ten.
Yeah, that'll be incredible. I mean, again, I've Kim's wanted me to go to the Doak a lot, and I'm just telling you, like, I'll go once the Buckeyes get down there. I'm not going to go watch Carolina and all those other schools, but Florida State to the Big Ten would be awesome. I mean, I'd love to pick up. Oh God, I'd love to get the Hurricanes. I know we're not going to get them; they'll probably go to the SEC, but that would be a plum game. Because I always think about, like, for fan experiences and direct flights. Like, I think that'd be absolutely awesome. All right. D. Sunny, what is up, my friend? We are so spoiled that we haven't mentioned Emeka Egbuka this offseason. Do you know how Emeka and JJ Smith's relationship is, and what do you expect of him? Well, Emeka, I think I truly expect that he'll be our next first round wide receiver. He is a very different bird than a lot of these other kids. He's very quiet. He's very religious. He loves to golf. Like these guys golf a lot. I mean, that's like the joys of online classes is like, they get done, man, and they're out golfing. They go play 27 holes a day, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, I don't. You guys know me. I'm not a golfer. I can't stand golf, but he's a devout dude. Likely a captain. I think that this could easily be a 6-captain group where you've got Emeka, Trey. I don't know if they do Will Howard or not. That'll be an interesting one to see if they pick the quarterback. Donnie Jackson, I think, is a candidate to be a captain. This is going to be a deep captain class. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be a clown and do 8, but I mean, you could do, Jack Sawyer, JT, Cody Simon, Denzel Burke, Lathan Ransom. I mean, this is a deep, not all captaincies are created equal because there's some years where there's a lot of really good candidates, and this is one of them. So I think Emeka makes a lot of sense to be a captain. I think that if you can kind of spread out where their influence is, it's a huge help. If you spread it out across a perimeter guy, and lineman, I think is always good. Then you get like a running back or a quarterback guy who's in the backfield. I think that that's helpful, but it'll be interesting. Like I said, it'll be telling if Will Howard is the captain, because I mean he's a guy that I'm not sure if he was the captain last year at K-State. It wouldn't surprise me if he was. But when your quarterback's the captain, I always think that it bodes well for the season. And I know that he's ingratiated himself with the team. The team loves him, so that'll be very interesting to see. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, thank you, D. Sunny. You're always one of the best posters on here, and you always have great questions. So this is a really good one. We are so spoiled that we haven't heard mentioned Emeka this offseason. Do you know how Emeka and JJ Smith's relationship is, and what do you expect of him? And again, I did not really answer that, but I think Emeka and JJ have got a great relationship. JJ is kind of a loner, kind of a quiet kid, but they're both workers. They work real hard together. Emeka's a really easy guy to like. If you don't like Emeka or he doesn't like you, it probably says more about you than it does him, because he kind of just flows with whoever's around him. Which, I mean, again, from the people I talk to, hey, what's Emeka like? Nicest guy in the world, quiet, golfs, super religious. We got a lot of like real religious guys on the team this year, which is great. Again, I is what it is, and JJ obviously is a guy that I think that Emeka. It's almost funny that he's potentially the number 2 receiver as a first round pick because JJ's that guy. I I think JJ's the best receiver in the country. So JJ's just a different level of physicality and speed. If they all break the huddle and you're like, what guy could hurt you the most on in the passing game? I'm like that guy, the guy who's like 6'5" and 225 pounds and can jump 44 inches like JJ Smith can. That's the guy I'm scared of, and that's the guy that I think teams are going to focus on stopping. So I think Emeka is going to shred people on the slot. And that's going to be really, really scary to see. Because if he gets singled up a lot, he could have, 85 catches, 100 catches, especially in Chip Kelly's offense. And I think that the thing that he'd be really good at, between Chip Kelly and Tim Drevno is, there were times where they ran a lot of fly sweeps, where they would do a fly sweep where it's basically like they bring the receiver in motion, hand him the ball. It's like stealing. If you have a guy that can do it well, because not every guy can do it well. Like some guys are really good at running, basically like sweeps, because they're like Robert Woods is one of the best guys of all time. When he played for the Rams, they used to hand him the ball and he'd carry the ball on basically like a jet sweep. And I'm telling you, he's the guy that can do it. If he wants to do it, he's got the agility and he's got that little hint of running backness where he can be good at it, because not every receiver is good at it. I'm telling you that some of these guys, they get the ball and they're like robots when it comes to put their foot in the ground and getting upfield. But that is something that I would exploit with Emeka to get him some cheap touches. And generally teams do that when they're under center. But if if you're in shotgun, I actually like it better because you can do the little push pass and do the same action, and then it counts as a completion for Will Howard and it pads the stats and it pads Emeka's reception total too. So just a thought. Again, and Tim Drevno was real big on that at Michigan. And I think that with what Chip Kelly likes to do with the horizontal runs, like Emeka could really explode this year. Nevada D Sunday again, thanks for the 5. Says we're so spoiled that we haven't mentioned Emeka this offseason. Do you know how Emeka and Judy Smith relationship is, and what do you expect of him? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Emeka and JJ have a great relationship, very tight, learning from him. And it's funny we talk about Emeka because if it's possible that a guy like Emeka can be flying under the radar, he absolutely is. Because of the type of season that he had last year with the injury, with Marvin Harrison's kind of ascension and kind of, overshadowing everything. And then you've got JJ Smith coming in and casting another big shadow. I think Emeka is going to have a monster season for Ohio State. And I think I don't think people remember how good this guy is. This guy is really, really, really good. I mean, he's Jackson Smith and Jigba good. He's a guy. It's a difference maker every time he's on the field, and I think he's absolutely flying under the radar. You mentioned using him in jet sweeps. I mean, people forget. I mean, he literally saved the Utah Rose Bowl game for us with his kickoff returns. I mean, do you remember how good he was? It's like he almost housed every single one of those. Some guys have the knack, some guys don't. Emeka absolutely is. You want to get the ball in his hands as often as possible. Those little push passes or jet sweeps or whatever you want to call them are a great way to do it. No, I think Emeka is going to be an absolutely huge weapon, and I don't think people are talking. I think people have kind of moved on to the new shiny toy, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up being our leading receiver this year. Despite JJ Smith being as good as he is, just because Emeka is next level good as well and experience. So, and as you said, probably not going to be drawing the double coverage, which is going to be rolling over to JJ, and I think Emeka is going to feast.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because again, I think after the Akron game, man, people are going to be trying to stop JJ. That's going to be you put him out there, man, and you got some poor corner against them. I mean, I don't know how a guy's going to match up versus a guy who's that big and that fast and that talented. I mean, he's going to be our starting X, which is absolutely terrifying, and I can't wait to see it. And we have him for 3 years, which would be awesome. No way, 87. Thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Huge hit today. DK really disappointed me with his actions. Thought he was more JJ, less Odell Beckham. Jamie French back in the picture? Question mark. I don't know. I mean, I would keep recruiting Jamie until the end of time. He was a guy that was all in on Ohio State, and then Texas whispered some sweet nothings. And I think that with them missing on DeCorian, I'm sure they're going to lock in a little bit harder on Jamie French to get him to be their guy. But you never know. I mean, again, if JJ goes ballistic and Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate. I mean, it's funny we barely talk about Carnell Tate, and he was a 5-star superstar receiver too. Um, I think that, like I said, I'm all about what is the path of least resistance to getting to where I want to go. Because I mean, all these guys have goals: win a national title, be an All-American, do all that. But they all want to go to the NFL. They all want to play at a high level. They all want to be trained to have a shot to be, really, really good NFL players. And like I said, that's why DeCorian Moore was basically bought by Oregon, which is fine. And again, that could be an excuse, whatever. But like, why on earth, if you are the number one receiver in the country, would you go to a school that hasn't put any significant receiver in the National Football League in the last 20 years? I mean, I can't think. I mean, they had like a fourth. I looked at it like a fourth rounder and mid round guy. I mean, have you ever heard of a big time receiver coming from Oregon? No, exactly. So I mean, like versus Brian Hartline. I mean, even Texas. You got Xavier Worthy, you got Sarkisian. Um, I'm not going to play for a defensive head coach if I'm a superstar receiver. I want to go to Ryan. I mean, I'm going to Ryan Day or Steve Sarkisian, period, point blank. I mean, because Sark, he knows how to get it done. And they had Xavier Worthy go 32nd overall to the Chiefs last year. And again, if he doesn't break the combine record, there's no way he goes in the first round. So, in reality, Brian Hartline and Ryan Day's offense, Ryan Day's NFL throwing game is the quickest route to NFL riches. If you just follow the program, shut up, and just do everything they tell you to do, keep your nose to the grindstone for 3 years and focus. But again, again, I get people criticize, oh, you're so mean and stuff, but like that was a terrible video. I'm sorry. Like I've seen a lot of commitment videos, and that one, like Riley Pettijohn's was quick, concise, to the point. Obviously picked Ohio State, so obviously he's in my good graces. But even if he picks elsewhere, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like it wasn't like this big drug out, whatever. But again, sometimes, as Nevadabuck always says, and this is one of the smartest things that you could ever say in life, it's not always the guys that you get that it's the guys that you miss on, or it's the guys that you get that can't play that can kill you. Sometimes it's the guys that are a little like I don't like I don't want to go on the kid, but sometimes like there's these telltale signs of these kids where there are a lot of pomp, a lot of stuff around them, and are they really worth the squeeze? Like Willie Williams, who you old school recruiting guys are just like, he was supposed to be the greatest linebacker recruit of all time. And he was like, and he acted a little weird, like a clown, and he never did anything. And I've been around guys, I've seen that before. And again, I wish DeCorian well. I mean, I think that he chased the bag, which is great, but he had got a huge bag from us, and he'd have got to play for Brian Hartline, which again, I think that, that's the move I'm taking any day of the week, because it's not like he's going to come here and eat spam. I mean, he's still going to be eating at Hyde Park every night if he wants to. But he gets to be coached by Brian, and he gets to be coached by Ryan Day, and, and not to mention JJ Smith, who doesn't say 2 words in a week, literally went out of his way to tweet at him, Instagram story him, like do all that bull. And I was like, so the best receiver in the country wants to come work with you, train with you, play together, blah, 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 blah. And you turn that down to go to Oregon. Okay. We'll see how that works. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, no way. 87. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the 5. Huge hit today. DK really disappointed me with his actions. Thought he was more JJ, less Odell Beckham. Jamie French back in the picture. I still don't think Jamie's in the picture. I still think he's heading to Texas. But what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think it's one of the great, last stories of the OSU recruiting class is going to be, do they go back in on another wide receiver? So whether it's Jamie, whether it's Vernell, whether, whomever, does Ohio State kind of recalibrate, did things and go back in? And I think that's one thing I'm definitely going to be digging on here over the next, the week in 10 days to see if Ohio State's kind of cranking that up. So I think it's a great question for sure. As for the DeCorian Moore thing, I think these things always happen for a reason. I've just been doing this too long. I know I sound like an old head and I sound philosophical about this stuff, but I've seen this story so many times before, and it's just, when you think about recruiting, it just, it's very few times when you're looking at it, you're kind of, wow, I wish we had gotten that guy. 99% of the time it's like, wow, whatever happened to that guy? I never heard from him again, or he went on to obscurity. Now I'm not saying that happens. I'm not saying that happens every time. So don't misquote Nevada and saying, we're going to get every recruit, and everybody that goes elsewhere goes into obscurity. But a lot of times that's what happens. A lot of times, if a door closes, then somebody else you pick up works out well. I think in this particular case, I'm going to see if Ohio State goes after another wide receiver. I mean, do they really need one? Do they really feel like that? They felt like they needed Decorian Moore, and there's other guys that have similar skill sets. So it'll be interesting to see if Ohio State sharpens their pencil and tries to re-engage with some of these guys down the road.
Yeah, and we already have Chris Henry coming in the next year. So I mean, like if you have Quincy Porter and you've got a couple other guys in this class, like you're fine. I mean, you have JJ for 3 whole years. So as long as you got him and you got Ennis for another at least 1 more year, if not 2, Tate for at least 1 more year, if not 2. I don't feel anxiety when I see that we have Carnell Tate as a true sophomore, Ennis as a true sophomore, JJ is a true freshman. And the fact that, those guys could stay for 4 years now because of NIL, like, I'm not going to get bent out of shape out receivers. I mean, we took 4 receivers like 2 years ago and they all transferred out. So at the time, I'm sure we were all excited because we were like, oh, we got all these 4-star receivers and none of them did anything. So whoever we have starting at wide receiver at Ohio State will be, first round potential types, All-American potential types, because that's just the standard now. It's just like a quarterback. Whoever we have a quarterback is going to be a really good player because that's the same. If it's not that, Ryan Day will flip the apple cart over and get he'll do whatever it takes to get it to the standard it needs to be at because he knows what it takes to win. He needs a great quarterback, and we had it with C.J. Stroud. We didn't have it last year, and I think that's where with Brian Hartline and wide receivers, like whoever breaks the huddle when there's 3 or 4 receivers in the game, even 5, like they're all going to be really good players. So if we lose a kid, we'll be fine. And again, with the portal, I've never cared less about who we get in recruiting, like ever. It's exciting, but I'm telling you, like, going out again, Quinshon Judkins is way more exciting to me than any, 18-year-old senior running back because Quinshon's here right now. He's going to be here for another 6 months, and he's going to be, in the latest, Mel Kiper mock draft, he's literally the 27th overall pick to the Dallas Cowboys. He's that good. So that's the guy I'm excited about. So if we miss on somebody and then we got and get Quinshon Judkins, I don't care because it's going to be good either way. I got another super chat. David Myers, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 5. Shouldn't Ohio State use the saved NIL money from Moore and use it on McNutt? Can we really afford another in-state and legacy to go to Oregon? Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, it just depends. Everything's about, does it make sense from a dollars and cents, perspective? And not every one of these guys is worth what they think they're worth. Some schools grossly overpay guys. So, just because someone gets some crazy offer from Oregon or wherever, like, do we really need to match that? I don't know. We've got 5 DBs committed. We've got the top 2 corners in the country. We've got a top 2 safety in the country. And we've got some good guys with a lot of upside to round that group out. So, like, I don't know. Like to me, I don't sweat it. I don't like losing a legacy, especially since his dad is one of the nicest guys ever. Is one of my favorite. I wasn't a teammate with him because he had an ankle, and I believe he medical redshirted, so I missed him by a year. But he's a great dude. He's always around the program. He's been coaching for a long time. He coached at Northern Illinois, coached at NC State. He's with Eddie now at Tennessee State. I don't know. I mean, if you say, Kirk, where do you want to spend the money? I'm saying David Sanders. That's where I want to spend the money. And not to mention, like, when the transfer portal opens up in January, Kirk, where do you want to spend the money? Transfer portal. And find me another Caleb Downs. Like cinch, lock in, first team All-American type player. Those are the guys I like to pay. Not to mention you got to save it for roster retention. You got your recruits coming next year. If a kid is giving off vibes where he doesn't really want to be here, like, I don't know. Like, do I really want to pay him more and match him to get him here? Because again, the law of unintended consequences when you do this is when you pay one kid X, then what are the other kids going to want? Like, what's Devin Sanchez going to want? What are guys that are rated higher than him going to want? So I don't know. Like, I don't want to get in a pattern where I'm just chasing, whatever the highest bidder offers and trying to match that because I think that's a death spiral. I don't think it's good for the room. I don't think it's good for anybody. So I like how we're handling NIL. I think we have a great handle on it. I think we're doing a great job with it. We spent a lot of money on roster retention, which I love. We paid Jack Sawyer and Tyleek and JT and Trey Henderson and Emeka and some of those guys, and I think that's fantastic. But that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't know if I want to up the offer on McNutt, and I'm not going to close the door on him yet. Same with Dorian Brew. I mean, I think that those guys, they're Ohio, not legacies, because Brew's mom ran track at Ohio State, so she didn't play football at Ohio State. But like sometimes, we'll survive. With the guys we got. Like I said, we've got the best DB class I think we've ever had. So if we add him, great. If we don't, also great. We'll survive with the 5-star guys that we already have committed to the class. Nevada, David Myers, again, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. It says, shouldn't Ohio State use the saved NIL money from Moore and use it on McNutt? Can we really afford another in-state and legacy to go to Oregon? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think recruiting's changing. I think recruiting's changing. I think with NIL, with the portal, with kind of the expansion of the Big Ten. The Big Ten's not a regional brand anymore. The Big Ten goes coast to coast. The Big Ten goes, Oregon and Washington and USC and UCLA, and it's really it's a national conference. Ohio State is the national brand at the national conference, and I think as a result, I think the in-state kids. I'm not saying they're going to be less important, but maybe less pronounced in classes going forward. So for me, I love having kids that grow up, that understand the rivalry, that want to be Buckeyes and want to do those things. But somebody made a great point today on the board. I thought I wanted to stand up and applaud, but somebody was saying, well, we can't miss on all these in-state kids because they really get the rivalry. One of our posters said, well, if they really got the rivalry, then why are they going to Oregon, or why are they going somewhere else if they're really about Ohio? So and I'm like, man, checkmate. So I think I want kids that want to be here, whether they're from Texas, Florida, Bama, wherever they're from. And yes, for me, the highest priority is going to be Ohio kids that want to be Buckeyes. But if they don't, I wish them well, and maybe we'll see them down the road either before they sign, like a Justin Hill. I don't think any of these. I don't think Hill's done. I don't think Brew's done. I think those could absolutely flip at some point in the future. And with McNutt, let's see how it plays out. But I just want great players. I don't care where they're from. I want great kids. I want great kids that are going to represent the university well. And I think being from Ohio is going to be less and less important in the future. And it's going to be up to Ohio State to kind of instill that hate and that understanding of the rivalry once they get here, because we really are a national brand now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think it's less and less about Ohio, because again, we can't just recruit Ohio kids. The talent isn't in Ohio the way it used to be. And honestly, with social media and with Oregon being in the Big Ten, like there's going to be guys that are 5-star kids from the Midwest that go to Oregon. That never used to happen, like ever. So there's a lot more, I guess, awareness of West Coast brands, just because you're going to see Oregon playing versus Michigan every year, and versus Ohio State, and versus Penn State. And that's going to not drain, but I think it's going to expose kids to the school that, other than they have funky uniforms and they're in kind of the middle of nowhere. So like I said, the one thing I know about kids is, man, if they don't want to be here, that's fine. We'll survive. Ohio State is like a juggernaut that just keeps on moving along, regardless of who wants to jump in the ship. And again, like I always kind of, it raises an eyebrow sometimes when a legacy doesn't want to come to Ohio State, because maybe he doesn't want it. Maybe, his dad didn't have, and again, I know his dad, wow, his dad's a great guy, but maybe, he didn't like how his dad's experience ended. Maybe he doesn't want to follow in his dad's footsteps. Maybe he wants to go chart his own path. I don't know. There's a million things that work there. Richard McNutt was a guy, good player, got hurt, so he never got to get to the NFL because he had a really severe ankle that ended his career. But when a legacy who's been offered a ton, and he's from Ohio, doesn't want to go to Ohio State, and when kids want to just randomly go to the other side of the world and go to Oregon, I think it's best that they just go. Like again, it reminds me of like Andre Walker, Fred Davis. They go from Ohio to like USC. Back when Fred was a lot younger or a lot older, than Andre was. But when Andre left Cleveland to go to USC, I was like, it made no sense, and he never did anything. And he was the guy that, we would have, had a plan for him ready to go, and he wanted to go elsewhere. And that's fine. There's some kids that are just contrarian, and I don't think it's any different than when a regular high school kid leaves, New Albany, Ohio to go to Clemson or Miami Hurricanes or Florida or wherever. Like, or there's a lot of kids from Ohio that go to the University of Alabama for college. Like, some kids just want to get away. They don't want to all be Buckeyes. Like, there's a lot of kids in Central Ohio that I know they don't want to go to Ohio State because they want to get out of the nest. They want to go see the world. So again, I think that there's some of that sometimes to these kids, but it is what it is. Like I said, Oregon, I think, is obviously a fantastic program. They're up and coming, but there's no way in the universe like I would go anywhere than Ohio State, especially if I'm playing like DB with Unk, with Tim Moulton. I mean, come on. I mean, he's developing them like crazy right now, and these guys are going to be really high draft picks in the next couple of years draft. All right, Nevada, good show. We can wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts?
No, just it's really excited about Riley Pettijohn. Really excited about this class, and kudos to James Laurinaitis, Jim Knowles, the entire defensive staff for putting together just an epic. I mean, as good as the offensive guys are, man, this is a unbelievable crop of defensive players, and hats off to those guys for bringing it home and getting Pettijohn, the number one linebacker on their board in the nest today. So great job, Buckeyes.
Nevada, do you think Knowles is an okay defensive coordinator or no? So we had that battle on the board.
Oh God,
this is my favorite.
I mean, like what, guys? What? Oh, he can't recruit. Well, they got all these great recruits. Oh, he has nothing to do with that. Oh, so these guys are all coming. Just what does he do? Like sleep through their visits or something like that?
Yes.
Or he goes and eats nachos, or he goes to see Despicable Me 4 while they're on the campus or something like that. I mean, like, how do you guys really think this stuff happens? Oh, well, the defense, and I mean, yeah, I don't have words. I mean, I'm a fan of performance. People are like, you're a fan of Knowles. No, I'm a fan of performance. I see where the defense was when he got here. I see where the defense is now, and I love giving up 11 points a game. The only thing better than giving up 11 points would be giving up 10 or 9 or 8, and I think that's the trajectory that Ohio State's on. So yeah, big fan, and they keep doing it. And that guy is so underappreciated by Ohio State fans, but it is what it is.
It is. There's always a whipping boy, and I'll give you guys a hint. If you've got like for Riley Pettijohn, his dad was an All-American, so obviously he's been around the block. He knows college football. Like, he's got to want to know the coordinator. And he's got to have a really good feel with the coordinator and a good rapport with the coordinator. He's not going to send his son, who's the best linebacker in the country, to Ohio State and not have any knowledge or involvement or comfort level with the coordinator. So Jim Knowles has to be like knee deep in that one. Like, when you got like a dad that knows football and played football at a high level, like Jim Knowles has to be in the middle of that. He doesn't want to talk to the position coach. He wants to know what's the plan from the coordinator, how you can use my kid, Ryan Day, Maradi, like the whole crew. So Jim Knowles is very active in these recruits. And again, he was the guy that locked in Caleb Downs. Like, that's the thing people don't understand is, like, I was talking to people that were right in the middle of that thing during all the negotiations, and he killed it. And again, who's Caleb Downs' dad? Gary Downs. Played 10 years in the NFL. He's a really, really sharp guy, been around the block. His older kids with the Colts, really good player, a wide receiver. You should take him in fantasy football this year. So, again, like, this notion that Jim Knowles just sits on his recliner and sleeps while all these other guys out recruiting it's stupid. I mean, when you're the coordinator, you have to be active because you're the guy that's it's your scheme they're running. So hey, this is how we're going to use your kid. Here's how some of these he made Jeremy Cash the ACC Defensive Player of the Year when he was at Duke, and I was around Jeremy. Nice kid, not a great player. But with Jim Knowles, he made him the ACC Defensive Player of the Year after he transferred from Ohio State to Duke after Urban showed up. So, again, that's all I need to know. If you're going to let my kid do that role, let's ride. We're good. We got a couple more Super Chats, Nevada, at the buzzer, of course, my boys. Appreciate you guys. Buck Nasty, thanks for the 10. When does Mylan hit campus? It's funny, we don't even talk about him, Nevada. Mylan Graham. He's going to be a dog. Everyone is on campus They all got here for June or like May Mester and then the June stuff. So all the kids are on campus now. They're doing summer conditioning, which is awful, terrible. A lot of running, a lot of early mornings. So he's on campus now. He's going to be an absolute monster. Nevada, any thoughts on Mylan Graham?
Yeah, I mean, talk about the forgotten man. They just ho hum, another 5-star wide receiver that we have that,
Yeah,
again, didn't come in early. We didn't get to see
yeah,
through spring, so we've kind of forgotten about him. But yeah, he's special athlete, special player, but he's on campus doing his thing, and we'll see him in the fall.
absolutely. Yardvarks Lawn Care. Shout out Yardvarks. I'm not sure where you guys are at. But wherever you guys are at, if you guys can use Yardworks Lawn Care, do it. It'll be good for you. Thanks for the 5. Appreciate it, my friend. Y'all called Laurinaitis, of course. He was born for this. Do you think we try using the jack so we can effectively recruit the position next year? And who plays it? I don't know. I mean, I like what we did last year where we didn't run the jack. And again, it's not because I'm against the jack. I was big time for the jack the first year, but we don't run it enough. So I mean, it's something where if you're gonna run it, like you gotta run it. You can't just run it like 5 plays a game and hope that it works. Like it's just not, like that thing takes a lot of feel, a lot of full like 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 in-game reps. You can't just practice it 5 times and hope to throw it out there a couple times. Like you got to run it. So again, in the Big Ten, I just don't think it's effective. Big 12, of course. When you have lesser players and you got to confuse people to win, like you do at Oklahoma State or Duke, of course. But when you're at Ohio State, you have the best. I mean, you have the best set of defensive ends in the country. You have Ty Leak, so you got to take Ty Leak or Ty Hamilton off the field to run that. And I just don't think that it's. I don't think it's effective. Not in the Big Ten where you got to play Michigan and teams that run the ball. It doesn't work. So I like what we did last year. I don't care if we ever run it again. I thought that the first year we ran it, it basically wasted Jack Sawyer's year because they made him the starting Jack, and he would play 7 plays a game running it. And I'm just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But in the Big 12, it was great. But the Big 12 is spread football, chuck and duck, throw the ball 80% of the time, and spread the field and whatever. That's not what the Big 10 is, and nor do I ever think it will be. So I'm not a fan of the jack. I'm a fan of what we did last year, where we were second in the nation in total defense. So I think we stick to it. If a kid is like obsessed with playing it like the kid that just went to Alabama was, then it is what it is. If he wants to go play some stand up bandit wolf role or whatever, that's fine. But the kid's a defensive end to me, and that's what he's going to be in the National Football League. They don't have the bandit and the wolf and the jack and all the stupid walk around stuff in the National Football League. They've got defensive ends, and they've got a hybrid 3-4 and a regular 4-2-5 nickel in the NFL now, and that's what he's going to play in the league. So again, it's cute for a few years, but after that, it's over with. Nevada Yardbucks Lawn Care again, thanks for the 5, says y'all called Laurinaitis. He was born to do this. Do you think we try using the jack so that we can effectively recruit that position next year, and who plays it? I know that they talked about Mitchell Melton playing it, but he's again, I think he's got a lot of ability, but I don't know how much they're actually going to use it. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to try to do some interesting things with Sonny Styles and do some different things like that. But the jack position, it's challenging because it's kind of like Mr. Miyagi said about you walk the left side of the road or right side, or you walk the middle of the road, you get squished like the grape. Like you can't do it part time. You've got to commit to it. It makes an awful lot of sense in the Big 12. It made an awful lot of sense to run it at Oklahoma State. In the Big 10, where you've got rushing teams, man, you want to have 4 down linemen. And so I am not hearing a lot about that at Ohio State, that they're really going to make a commitment to that. And if that meant that we lost Justin Hill, so be it. I think the defense was operating at such a high level last year. I mean, go look at look at statistically how the defense did last year, and then compare it to some of the great defenses in Ohio State history. I mean, it was better from every metric: yards per play, yards per possession, points per possession, points per game, than some of the great defenses in Ohio State history. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think they're going to deviate from that very much. I think they're going to stick with the format, to run that 4-2-5, and so I just don't think we're going to see a lot of the jack.
I agree. Like, I don't want to change anything. I mean, add a little bit more pressure stuff because our coverage is going to be much better with Caleb Downs, but That's it. I mean, keep it. If our defense is number 2 in the nation again, we should win a national championship this year, in my opinion. Better quarterback play. Chris Schmidbauer, king of the Woody Hayes, my man. I hope you're doing good, brother. Thank you for the 5. Haven't been around for a minute. Appreciate you. Hope all's well, my man Kirk. As always, man. I appreciate all you always did. You were the man. Bucks dodge a bullet with DK Moore. What a joke of an announcement. Yeah, and again, like, I don't want to go in on the kid too hard, but it was kind of a clown car, which is fine. And he's going to Oregon, and for the life of me, I can't understand why a kid with that kind of talent would go anywhere than Ohio State or Texas, other than straight cash, which again, we've got cash, and so does Texas. And we had a huge offer for DK Moore, but if a kid doesn't want to go play for Brian Hartline, then I don't know how to save him. So that's just my opinion. Nevada, your thoughts? You haven't been around for a minute. Bucks dodge a bullet with DK Moore. Joke of an announcement. Like I said, we're fine. Like, we got JJ, we're good.
Yeah, like I don't want to be that guy and be like, oh yeah, I hate their thing. Those whippersnappers or this, and we're better off without them. But we're fine. We're fine. It like I said, these things really do work out the way that they're supposed to. And after seeing that, I think that Oregon's a good spot for him, and we'll be fine. And I'll be interested to see if we reallocate those dollars, though. That'll be an interesting sidelight and something we really want to keep a careful eye on and ear open to, because you did free up a lot of salary cap money there, and maybe you redeploy it.
Yeah, I absolutely and totally agree. And J. Phil, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your 4th weekend, gentlemen. Thank you so much. I can't wait to experience the season with you too. National championship year. I agree. I mean, this is year they got to cash some chips in. Team's loaded. Deepest team I've ever seen. Best roster I've ever seen. And we have the #1 recruiting class coming in. So if you guys can't be happy about this year, this season, you don't enjoy this season, I don't know if you're ever going to enjoy one, because I'm going to enjoy the crap out of it. And we're going to be podcasting all night, every night, because this is a team that you better savor and enjoy, because you'll blink and it'll be over. And this is a team that can win the national championship, and that's the only goal this year for these guys, is to win, and we'll get in, and it's going to be an absolute blast. Nevada, NJ Phil, thank you for the 5. He says, enjoy the rest of your 4th weekend, gentlemen. Can't wait to experience the season. National championship year, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing year. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. We're not sunshine pumpers and we're not optimists. We're just weathermen, man. And if you go outside and it's 75 degrees and it's sunny, how am I supposed to describe that to you other than it's great? It's a great time to be an Ohio State fan. It's going to be a great time to be an Ohio State fan. And I can't wait for the 2024 season. It's coming up. I think it's 7 Saturdays more, and we're playing football. So let's go get it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. All right, Nevada, we can wrap this thing for good. Any thoughts? And we will roll.
Leave us a like, and that's one way you can really help out the channel. Hit that little thumbs up and helps other people find the channel. And we went over 31,000 subscribers on YouTube, screaming past that. Now on our journey to 32,000, and just can't thank you guys enough for making us the #1 Ohio State YouTube show on the entire internet. And it's all because the great people we have in this community. So thank you guys so much.
As always, thank you guys. Again, we appreciate you guys. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate you guys so very much. If you guys can follow us on Apple Podcasts, where we've been growing our audio platforms pretty rapidly, and those are huge for us to continue growing the platform, spreading the good word. We're working on Saturday. We're one of the few that actually do, so we're on here grinding. We also look forward to seeing you guys at 7 for our broadcast. So, as always, I hope you guys had a great show. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Comment, maybe outside of David Sanders, which recruit are you most excited about in this class? I'd love to hear that in the comments down below. So write some comments and leave us that like. Again, I appreciate you guys. And if you guys go on Apple Podcasts and you subscribe, thank you. Leave us a 5-star review. Those are huge for us to keep growing the platform. That being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.